Okay, so recently I had a student ask about playing diatonically. Now, they're kind of asking when you see like diatonic chord progression, so chords are in one key. Um, do we just apply one scale, kind of, broad stroke across the whole thing, and just limit to one scale and just think, okay, I'll just play the scale over all the chords? And in some ways, that is correct, I guess, on some level. But this student was also asking about that it feels like he's just kind of like noodling around on one key, and like he's not kind of keeping track of the chords. So the kind of little problem that I could tell that he was having that is that he wasn't aware of how to outline the chords in a diatonic key or kind of follow them in some ways. Now, I think a lot of players, like intermediate players, will either do this instinctually just through like playing by ear, or the other side of it is they're just not aware of where the chord tones are or the arpeggios, triads of the chords. So I think if you're struggling with, and this is what I offer to the student, if you're struggling with like doing a solo and you're just kind of running up and down a scale, or feels like you are, or sounds like you are, then I think being more aware of the chords that you're playing over and targeting chord tones, you will end up feeling a sense of more connection to the music you're playing. And as well as if you take the chords away, maybe you could hear what chord you're playing without the chords there, if that makes sense. Your solo can outline the chord changes. Now, this isn't like a big jazz thing. It's of course, it's applied to jazz, but this is just a regular diatonic chord progression. And the one I suggested was just F major, so one chord, F to C major, F to C. Now, this stylistically, this could be anything. It could be jazz, blues, whatever you want. But the key thing was, where are the target tones for these chords? Now, we're going to deal with them in triads. So let's just take the D, G, B strings and see if we can find these chord tones or the triads on that string set. So I think a lot of us will probably know this one, which is F major. Now, it's only 3 notes. So you've got root position, first inversion, second inversion. And let's kind of find the other 2 on that string set. So it's root. Then you've got F starting here. And then you've got second inversion, which is like our A major type shape. On the D, G, B, it's 10th fret, 10th fret, 10th fret. And then we can probably start it again up the top. So you're getting, that's your one chord. Now, if you're really good with scales, like F major all over the neck, kind of anywhere, this is something that you can kind of apply to your scale playing and see these like kind of highlighted areas that will bring out the color of those chords. So that's one chord. That's pretty easy to do, I think, if you're just doing one chord. But now let's find the triads for C major, and we can use the same shapes as well. So our first one is actually built into our C major chord, normal C major chord we play. So that's going to be first inversion from the third of the chord. That's third, fifth, root. Then you've got C major here on the 5th frets, and before we had it on the 10th fret for F. This is coming from your C major bar chord as well, by the way. And then you've just got your straight root position C major chord, 10th fret on the D, 9th fret on the G, 8th fret on the B. And you could play the first one up high as well. So all the 4 or the 3 triads for C are. Now this is still in the same key of F. Now there's not like adding any crazy extra notes or anything. Now what we're aiming to do is to be able to kind of, like I said with the F one, kind of play like we're normally playing, but just try to bring these into our playing a little bit more, so they're like a little group of notes that will kind of say, hey, I'm aware that we're playing C now, or I'm going back to F. And that way, if we play unaccompanied, or it could be like a little guitar intro to the song that's in key at F to C or whatever other chord you want to do. You're able to bring out those chords, and somebody listening can follow you and go, oh, okay, I can hear the kind of, you're hinting at the chord progression. Otherwise, if we're just doing it like this, like now you're just kind of playing around in F, but the chords, what you're wanting to do, maybe F to C to B flat to A minor, D minor, who knows, all in the key of F. So let's take it really slow, and I'll try to just play around with those triads just to start with. So pretty slow. So start with F. Now maybe to C. F. C. And kind of hit at some chords as well. Now let's do it one more time and I'll see if I can demonstrate maybe including some more scale type playing with these. So I'll see if I can outline this just like I kind of did at the beginning of the video as well. So the big takeaway today are these shapes, and you want to be able to find these for all the chords that you're playing over. So you might have a chord progression in a song you're working on, or that you solo over all the time. It could be really simple, but it'll really bring out the sound of the chords. And I think you'll be a bit more attached to your playing because you're actually having some mental input, like, okay, here's the chord change, and I'm aware that we're going from F to C. And you come up with really creative ways, especially if you're playing like blues, kind of rockish type stuff. You can bend into the thirds. I'll do one just with the scales first, then I'll show you a little bit of that as well. So mixing scale tones in with the triads. So maybe just kind of free rubato. That can be really fun. You kind of like just being creative with them. Every now and then I'm like getting a little bit off and I can make my way back. But you have this bit of a skeleton or a spine for the chords that's pinning it together. And you're kind of, it's like this, and the scale tones are either side of it. So you're able to kind of, move either side, and that you're coming back to this inner framework that you're able to really spell out the chord. Now, one last example is using those triads, F, C. There are other positions for this. I think before I was playing some of those, but just this is totally new to you and you're pretty good with scales, but the triads are a new thing, and it's something that you want to get on your fingers. Just start with those, and then you can expand to the other string sets. Now, before we go, just a quick one of demonstrating a bit of phrasing with the triads. So we don't always have to play them straight up and down. So if I'm trying to play F, I can hammer on to the third. Very classic guitar thing. I could even bend onto the F, bend onto the third. That sounds really cool. Now I could try doing this one. First inversion F. And maybe I could bend up to the root from which would be the major 7 into the root. Check on a bit of. I I could try bending into the major third on the D string for a slightly lower one. This note here. So I go maybe a tone below. So I'm basically playing, which is the same as going. So having a really strong understanding of these triads, it'll really kind of open up your playing. You're able to play around with them. Another one. That's like I said before, like the spine. I can see that and I'm playing around with it. The third, I can go kind of dance either side of it. And last one just for the C. Now I'm seeing like this one here, I'm just expanding the lower octave. I'm bending up to the third, or high third, to the root, walking down to the fifth, up to the third, up to the root. I can go down to the fifth of this one, bend into the third, land on the root, back to F. So there's lots you can do. So I reckon give that a go. Just work with those 3 shapes for each chord, and then you can kind of really expand it. There's so many options for the triad stuff. Now this will work with any other chord that you're kind of doing. Try to work out. I haven't done any minor ones today. Maybe we'll do it for another video. But start with this, and then it's really simple, and just play around with it. Have a lot of fun with it. Do it free, and if you're playing, if you get it really good on your fingers, start putting in the time. But just a small tip today to kind of add some more context to your solo, so it's not just relying on scales. You should have a little bag of tricks, arpeggios, triads, scales, lots of little ideas, not just like, okay, F major, I'm just going to play F major as a whole thing and turn my brain off. No, I want to turn my brain on and be aware of what we're playing, and really spell out those chord changes. And sometimes you might feel like that. Maybe it's just a repeating lick, but I definitely feel like it's good to be able to do both and not just one. And I think this is pretty fun, like a real fundamental part of guitar playing, just knowing a few of these triad shapes. All right, that's it, guys. So I'll leave it there, and hopefully you got something out of it today, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.